I still remember the first time I held Emily in my arms. She was barely a day old, wrapped in a yellow hospital blanket. Her little fingers curled tight like she was already guarding secrets. I cried, not just because she was beautiful, but because she was family, my sister Melissa's baby girl. A girl brought into this world under difficult, unexplained circumstances. Melissa never told us who the father was. Just a mistake, she'd say, brushing it off with a forced laugh and those tired eyes that seemed older than her age. Emily grew up as part of my daily life. Mark and I never had kids of our own. After 2 miscarriages, we stopped trying. Silently mourning a dream we no longer dared speak aloud. Melissa moved in with us for a year after Emily was born, said she needed support. I didn't hesitate, she was my sister. We shared a childhood bedroom, shared hand-me-down clothes, shared heartbreaks. Of course, I'd open my home to her. Mark adored Emily. That used to warm my heart. He'd carry her on his shoulders, buy her little science kits, let her paint his toenails. "You'd be such a good dad," I told him once, watching them play. He smiled but didn't say anything. Just kissed my forehead and kept playing Tea Party. It was subtle at first. Emily's eyes, hazel with a strange golden fleck, just like Mark's. Her smile, slightly crooked on the left side, exactly like his. I noticed it one afternoon while organizing old photos. There was a picture of Mark at age 10, grinning in a way that was eerily familiar. I blinked, and for a second, saw Emily. I told myself I was imagining things. Then there were the whispers. At family gatherings, an aunt would mention how Emily looks nothing like Melissa. A cousin joked that Melissa must have hooked up with someone who looked like Mark. I'd laugh it off, but the laughter was hollow. The turning point came 3 weeks ago. Melissa had dropped Emily off for the weekend. She was going on a last-minute work trip. She said, Mark was in the backyard with Emily, helping her with a school project about building a small bridge out of popsicle sticks. I watched them from the kitchen window, sipping wine and half listening to a podcast. Emily turned to Mark and said, "Daddy, can you help me with the glue?" I froze. She didn't even seem to realize what she said. Mark did. He flinched just slightly, then laughed and corrected her. "Uncle Mark, sweetheart. Uncle Mark." Emily nodded, unfazed, and kept gluing. When I confronted him later, he brushed it off. "Kids say weird things. She probably hears it at school." But I couldn't let it go. I dug out old texts, scrolled back years. There were gaps, entire weeks where Mark would come home late, stuck at work. I remembered once when I'd called him during an office emergency and Melissa had picked up, whispering, "I'll have him call you back." Back then, I didn't question it. Why would I? I started doing something I never thought I'd do. I tracked my husband. A friend of mine in IT helped me set up software on his phone. I hated myself for it. I hated who I was becoming. But I needed the truth. Because something about Emily felt too familiar. And deep in my gut, something told me that familiarity wasn't innocent. Melissa and I used to be inseparable. Growing up, it was always Lauren and Melissa, like one couldn't exist without the other. Our parents dressed us alike until we were 12. We'd braid each other's hair, whisper about boys late into the night, and cover for one another when we snuck out. I was the responsible one. Melissa was wild, unpredictable, beautiful in a way that always turned heads. I was the girl guys dated to marry. She was the one they couldn't forget. When Mark and I started dating, Melissa actually introduced us. They had met at a mutual friend's 4th of July barbecue. I still remember her teasing me after that night, saying, "You better keep an eye on that one. He's hot and polite. Dangerous combo." I didn't read into it back then. When Mark proposed, Melissa was the loudest cheerleader. She cried harder than me at the wedding. She helped me pick the flowers, calmed me down when I got cold feet, and gave a toast that made everyone laugh and tear up. "You two are perfect for each other," she said, raising her glass. "Don't ever screw this up." 3 years later, she got pregnant. No one in the family knew who the father was. She said it happened during a one-night stand that wasn't supposed to happen. She didn't want to talk about it, and we respected that. I figured she was embarrassed, maybe ashamed. Melissa had always been private about the messy parts of her life. I didn't push. I offered her our guest room instead. Mark wasn't thrilled. He said it would be a bit crowded. But eventually he softened, especially when Emily was born. I remember catching them once, Mark holding baby Emily, rocking her gently. His face full of something I couldn't quite place. Not love, not fatherly affection. It was ownership? Pride? At the time, I thought, he's mourning what we never had. Maybe this is healing for him. But now, in the fluorescent light of hindsight, every detail turns sharp. Every blurry memory gains cruel clarity. I called Melissa the morning after Emily's daddy slip. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Hey, quick question. Has Emily ever asked about her real dad?" There was a pause. Too long. Then her voice, casual but brittle. "No. Why?" "She called Mark Daddy yesterday." Another pause. Then a nervous laugh. "Kids are weird. Maybe she sees him as a father figure." "Melissa," I said, quieter. "Are you sure there's nothing I should know?" Silence. Then she hung up. No explanation. No denial. Just click. I stood in my kitchen for a full minute, phone still in my hand. Heart pounding like a war drum. That silence screamed louder than any confession. That night, I went through an old storage box labeled 2009. The year Melissa got pregnant. The year Mark was working out of town on that big bridge project near Dallas. Inside the box, birthday cards, receipts, random notes, and a photo I had forgotten existed. A Polaroid from a camping trip. Just the three of us. Mark, Melissa, and me. I was taking the picture. They were side by side, near the fire pit. Her head resting on his shoulder. He wasn't pulling away. I wish I could say I was brave enough to confront them immediately. That I stormed into the living room and demanded the truth, screamed, cried. Flipped tables like some heroine in a movie. But the truth? I froze. I spent the next few days drifting through my own life like a ghost, functioning, smiling. Responding to emails at work, attending meetings, but none of it felt real. Every time I looked at Emily, something inside me broke a little more. The way she tilted her head when thinking, how she squinted in the sun, even her laugh, God. Even that was Mark's. I had to know. I needed confirmation. Proof. So I did something unthinkable. I bought a DNA test kit online. Not for me. Not for Mark. For Emily. I told Melissa I wanted to do a little family genealogy project. Said it was for fun, one of those 23andMe things. Just curious to see if we've got some Viking in us, I joked. She hesitated. I don't know if that's a good idea. You know how weird those companies are about privacy. I'll use a fake name, I said too quickly. She paused, then gave a reluctant, fine. Maybe some part of her knew. I swabbed Emily's cheek myself one Saturday afternoon while babysitting. She didn't ask why. She just opened her mouth like she was used to me taking care of her. I mailed it off the next day, my hands trembling like I was mailing a bomb, because in a way, I was. The results took 11 days. During that time, I tried everything to convince myself I was wrong. That this was all in my head. That trauma was distorting reality. I even Googled things like, can kids look like someone who isn't their parent? And, how often are paternity assumptions wrong? I hated myself for typing those words. Hated who I was becoming. But that pit in my stomach wouldn't go away. When the results arrived in my inbox, I stared at the subject line for over an hour. Your DNA results are ready. I opened it. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped my phone. Emily and I, 25% match, as expected. I was her aunt, her biological aunt. Then I clicked over to the ancestry relationship breakdown. The system predicted possible relationships: aunt, niece, grandparent, grandchild, half-sibling. I closed my eyes and whispered, no. Because the only way Emily and I could be half-sisters is if we shared the same father. And my father had died a decade ago. There was only one possibility. I didn't go to work the next day. I called in sick and sat in my car outside Mark's office for 3 hours. Watching him through the tinted windshield like a woman possessed. When he finally walked out, I followed. We drove in silence, he didn't know I was behind him. He stopped at a coffee shop, grabbed a latte, kissed the barista on the cheek, what the hell? And drove home like nothing had happened. That night, I placed the DNA report on the kitchen table. I didn't say a word. Just pointed to the line that changed everything. Mark looked at it. Read it once. Then again. And then, without blinking, he whispered, you weren't supposed to find out. You weren't supposed to find out. Those 6 words didn't sound like regret. They sounded like strategy. Damage control. A man caught, not sorry. My voice cracked. How long? Mark didn't answer at first. He sat down at the kitchen table. Like this was a regular Tuesday night. Like he wasn't about to burn my entire life to the ground. Lauren, how long, Mark? I said louder. My fists clenched so tight I could feel my nails digging into my palms. He sighed. It happened once. Just once. Years ago. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the audacity of that lie was almost artistic. Once? And it magically resulted in a child? She told me she was on the pill, he muttered. So it was her fault? He looked up. No, I mean, I didn't plan any of this. I leaned in, my voice shaking. Mark, did you love her? He hesitated. That silence, again, was everything I needed to know. Jesus Christ, I whispered. She's my sister. I know, he said, finally looking ashamed. It started during that time we were having problems. After the miscarriage. My heart stopped. You slept with her while I was grieving the loss of our baby? He stood up suddenly, like he was the victim now. You shut down on me, Lauren. You pushed me away. You were cold, distant. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to scream, to throw something, but instead, I just stood there, hollowed out. And Melissa? I asked. Did she seduce you? Did she accidentally fall into your bed too? He flinched. Don't talk about her like that. That was it. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't a drunken accident, or a fling, or a heat of the moment lapse in judgment. This was betrayal with intention. Sustained, fed, protected. He had been defending her before he even defended me. Later that night, I called Melissa. No answer. So I drove to her place. She opened the door like she'd been waiting. Like she knew this day would come. Her face was blank, but her eyes had that same tired distance I remembered from when she was pregnant. "Can I come in?" I asked. She stepped aside. No words. I sat on her worn-out couch, next to a framed photo of Emily in a princess costume. I wanted to smash it. "I know," I said. "I know everything." She didn't pretend, didn't deny. Just sat down across from me, folded her hands in her lap, and said, "He loved me first." The room went silent. "What? Before you?" "He loved me first," she said softly. "At that barbecue where we met him. We'd been texting, flirting. We kissed once. I thought it would turn into something. You introduced us," I hissed. "Because he chose you," she said, her voice brittle. "I was the party girl. The mistake. You were the wife material." I stared at her, stunned. "So you slept with him to prove something?" She shook her head. "It wasn't like that. It just happened. I was lonely. You were so wrapped up in your grief, and he was there." I stood up. My legs felt like paper. "You lied to me. For 8 years. You both did." Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't mean to fall in love with him again. I didn't want to lose you." "You did lose me, Melissa," I said. "You lost me the second you chose him over me." I drove home that night with no music, no thoughts, just raw silence. I didn't sleep. I packed Mark's things in black garbage bags and left them on the porch. When he came home the next morning, I didn't let him speak. I handed him the bags and said one word, "Leave." And he did. No fight, no apology, just silence. Because even he knew he didn't deserve a second chance. After Mark left, the house felt like a murder scene. Not in the literal sense, of course, but something had died here. Love, trust, family. And everywhere I turned, I saw the chalk outlines of what used to be. His coffee mug still in the dishwasher, the dent on the sofa cushion where he always sat. Emily's drawing still magnet pinned to the fridge, me and Uncle Mark at the park. Except now, that wasn't Uncle Mark. That was Daddy. And that wasn't just a child's drawing. That was evidence. The first week alone was a blur. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My body moved through the routines, but my mind was stuck in one repeating loop. 8 years. 8 years. 8 years of lies. People talk about heartbreak like it's all tears and screaming and tubs of ice cream. But mine was quieter, scarier. It was watching myself in the mirror and not recognizing the woman staring back. It was questioning every moment in my marriage, every "I love you," every "I'll be late tonight," every "you're my everything," and realizing how easy it is to be fooled when you love someone. My phone buzzed constantly, calls from Mark, from Melissa, even from my mom. I didn't pick up. I couldn't. What could they say? "Sorry. It was complicated. We never meant to hurt you," they already had. And they didn't stop. But the silence didn't last. One afternoon, there was a knock at the door. I opened it expecting Amazon. It was Emily. She stood there holding a stuffed giraffe, her little backpack slung over her shoulder. Behind her was Melissa, eyes red, lips trembling. "I didn't know where else to take her," Melissa said. "She keeps asking for you." I looked at Emily, her innocent face lit up the second she saw me. "Aunt Lauren, can I come in?" My heart split in half. Because no matter how much I hated Melissa, no matter how much I resented Mark, this little girl was blameless. She was a child born from betrayal. Yes, but she was still my Emily. The one I sang lullabies to. The one who'd fall asleep on my chest during movie nights. The one who still thought I hung the moon. I let her in. Melissa stood awkwardly on the porch. I can pick her up in a few hours. I'll bring her back, I said, not even looking at her. That afternoon, I made Emily grilled cheese. We watched Frozen 2 for the millionth time. She braided my hair and told me about her school project, something about planets and stars and how she wanted to be an astronaut so she could fly away from all the sad things. I excused myself and locked myself in the bathroom. And I sobbed. Because the truth was, I still loved Emily. She wasn't just my niece. She was mine in a way I couldn't explain. A bond beyond blood. And that made everything even worse. That night, I drove her back to Melissa's. Before she got out of the car, she turned to me and asked, "Why are you mad at Mommy?" My throat tightened. Sweetheart, sometimes grown-ups make big mistakes. And it hurts people. She nodded solemnly. Like when I broke your snow globe. I managed a smile. Something like that. She hugged me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. I love you, Aunt Lauren. I held on to her like she was the only good thing left in my world. I love you more. When Melissa opened the door, I didn't say a word. But before she could close it, I asked, "Are you still in love with him?" She blinked. "What? Mark, are you still in love with him?" She swallowed hard. "Yes." There it was. Not even shame anymore. Just naked truth. "Then you deserve each other," I said. "But don't expect me to ever come back." After that night, I stopped speaking to both of them. Melissa tried, of course. There were emails, voicemails, even a letter left at my door in her slanted handwriting I knew by heart. I didn't open it, not because I wasn't curious, but because I knew nothing she wrote could undo what she did. Mark moved in with her 2 weeks later. Word spread quickly, as it always does in families. My mother called crying. "You can't shut your sister out forever," she said. "Family is family. But what do you do when family becomes the wound?" I told her I needed space. She said I was being dramatic. That one day, we'd laugh about this. Laugh? I hung up. I stopped attending family dinners. Holidays became mine alone. I roasted a turkey just for myself on Thanksgiving and watched cheesy rom-coms in pajamas on Christmas Eve. I thought it would feel sadder than it did. But honestly, solitude was less painful than sitting across from the people who broke me pretending nothing happened. I threw myself into work. My team thought I was thriving. Promotion talk, performance bonuses, praise from the district manager. But it was just noise. Survival disguised as success. Every now and then, I get a text from Emily's iPad. Simple things. "Hi Aunt Lauren. I drew you a unicorn. Mom says you're busy. I miss you." I cried every time, but I never responded. Then one day, the phone rang. It was Mark's number. I stared at it for minutes, thumb hovering over decline. But something made me answer. "Lauren," he said. His voice sounded older. "Tired. Can we meet?" "No. It's not about us." I stayed silent. "It's about Emily." My heart jumped. He explained that Emily had been acting out, nightmares, tantrums, refusing to eat. School had called. Then a child psychologist. She was developing separation anxiety. Not from Melissa. Not from him. From me. "She thinks you left her," he said. "She doesn't understand why." "She's a child," I whispered. "She shouldn't have to understand betrayal." "I know," he said. "But she loves you. And whether you like it or not, you're her family." I hung up. But I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat on my bed and stared at the moonlight crawling across my ceiling. Remembering the way Emily used to fall asleep on my chest. How she called me her second mommy. I realized something then. They broke my family, but I didn't have to break hers. The next day, I showed up at her school at 2:45. I stood by the fence as kids came pouring out like water from a cracked dam. Then I saw her. She froze when she spotted me, then ran. I dropped to my knees just in time to catch her in my arms. "You came," she whispered. "I'm sorry I made you wait," I whispered back. We sat on a bench under a dying oak tree. She clutched my hand the whole time. "Do you still love me?" she asked. My throat closed. "Always. Nothing will ever change that." "But Mommy said." "It's okay," I interrupted. "Grown-ups make mistakes. But you didn't. You never did." She nodded. "Can we go back to our tea parties?" I smiled through the tears. I already bought new teacups. I didn't see Melissa that day. Or Mark. I left a note with the front desk that I'd be taking Emily for a few hours. That was enough. I wasn't ready to forgive. But I was ready to protect what was still good. Still innocent. Still mine in some strange, painful, beautiful way. It's been 16 months since the day I held Emily on that schoolyard bench. Since I let love crack the armor I had built around my heart. A lot has changed since then. I moved. New house. New zip code. Still in Houston. But far enough that I no longer bump into ghosts at the grocery store. The old house, the one where everything shattered, I sold it. Let someone else fill those walls with new memories. I couldn't walk past the kitchen table without seeing his confession. I couldn't look at the guest room without imagining Melissa sneaking down the hallway while I slept. So I left, not to escape but to rebuild. Emily visits every weekend. She calls it our girl time. We paint our nails, bake terrible cookies. Talk about space and unicorns and how third grade is basically prison. She keeps a toothbrush here. A drawer full of pajamas. And every time she comes over, she hugs me like she's afraid I might disappear again. I won't. Not from her. I haven't spoken to Melissa in over a year. She tried, once. Sent a message on my birthday. "I still miss you. I hope one day you'll understand." I didn't reply. Because no, I don't understand. I probably never will. She was my sister, my other half. She knew my darkest fears, my deepest wounds. And she still chose the one man who could break me most. Some betrayals are forgivable, some are not. And that's okay. Letting go doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it just means choosing peace over chaos. I've made that choice. As for Mark, he still sees Emily, as he should. But we don't talk. We exist in parallel, connected only by the child we both love in different ways. He asked to meet once, to explain, to apologize properly. I told him I didn't need anything from him anymore. He said I'd changed. He was right. I used to think survival was just breathing, moving forward. Waking up each day and pretending the pain didn't exist. But now I know, survival is reclaiming yourself. It's finding joy again, trusting your own voice. Choosing what to carry and what to leave behind. I joined a support group for women who've been betrayed by family. Turns out, I'm not alone. Far from it. There are so many of us, quiet survivors of unspeakable hurt. Walking around with invisible scars, learning to live and love again. I'm dating, slowly, carefully, no rushing, no fairy tales. Just two people, coffee, conversation, honesty. And I write. That might be the strangest twist of all, how something so dark became the thing that helped me. Find light. I started journaling to make sense of it all, but the pages became stories. Stories became blogs. One post went viral, then another. Women wrote to me from all over the world, "Thank you for telling the truth." They called me brave. But I'm not brave. I'm just a woman who was broken and chose to rebuild. One breath, one boundary, one tea party at a time. So if you're reading this, maybe you've been betrayed. Maybe your world has cracked wide open. Maybe the people you trusted most became strangers. Here's what I want to say to you. You are not what happened to you. You are what you do next. I lost a husband. I lost a sister, but I found myself. And I'm not going anywhere.